Okay.
Were you able
Fixed
to hear?
bayonets. Did
Were you
it go off?
Oh, you
I
didn't hear it? Oh my goodness. Okay,
Okay.
I'll have to double check and see that.
Okay, so fixed bayonets, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Chief Guard of the Republic with your host, CW5 retired Michael Francis Tuman. That's me. And last week we were talking a little bit about history, military history. We got off on a tangent, and we ended up talking about Custer not at Little Bighorn, but Custer at Gettysburg. But today I want to talk about something that's probably a little important to me, because having served 38 years and being denied a lot of the awards that I probably deserved because the bosses did not like me, it's very common for some people to just wear the uniform and throw any award on there that they want. These are people that aren't in the service, although I have seen rather high-ranking people in the service wearing awards that they were not entitled to or couldn't possibly have earned. But it takes a warrant officer with attention to detail to spot those things. So we talk about stolen Valor, and you can't really steal someone's Valor. You know, that guy earned it. He did it and everything. And just because you're walking around wearing some medals does not reduce his Valor. So I can't see stolen, but I could see, like, taking something you're not really entitled to, and making it yours. But then what you're stealing is you're stealing respect from other people. And a lot of times these guys and some ladies work their way in to a position of trust based on their stories about their military service. So the best thing is, like, not to confront these guys, because once you spot and think that they're full of it, don't give them any more publicity by bringing it out, because, like they say, any publicity is good publicity, bad or otherwise. So I like watching the television shows where they have these guys in these uniforms, and I pay special attention to their fruit salad, the ribbons that they wear. Now, the ribbons, they're just a representation of the medal. All right, so you get a medal, and then there's a ribbon associated, because it's not very convenient to wear all your medals everywhere. So the ribbons represent that better on the uniform. And in Hollywood, they generally mess up the uniform a little bit in almost an obvious way to all service members, because they're showing that this guy isn't really a service member. It's fake. It's Hollywood. And that's not the stolen Valor. That's Hollywood. But some guy walking down the street, going into a restaurant, wearing something as simple as I'm a veteran hat, and he's not a veteran, and he asks for his 10% discount. And if the store finds out that these guys are doing that, they're liable to stop the discount. It got so important, nowadays we have medals for everything, and I would say over half the medals there are truly earned. And some of the medals that are given are under-ranked, and some are over-ranked for the job that was done. But back in the British days, they had a thing where if they gave someone a medal, they engraved their name to the back of the medal, because medals weren't given out that often. So when someone got it, they put their name on it, and that person would be able to say, "Hey, it's my medal, my name's on it." Later on, some guys would buy those medals, because these soldiers would fall on hard times, and they would sell their medal. And then these guys would be walking around with it, and someone would go up and turn the medal around and say, "That's not your name." That's pretty embarrassing. So I think everyone's heard of the that name was right in my head and popped right on my head. It was the Russians had a special operations force, shock troops, they called them, the I'm sorry, I forgot. I got the magic phone right here. Anyways, they're into Ukraine, and these guys were basically mercenaries. And one of the things they did for recruiting kids to come join the mercenary, they didn't care if you were ever in the service. They wanted you to join. And one of the things was what's on the back of the medal. All right, the back of the medal was like their motto, because they knew that a lot of people were walking around with stuff that wasn't theirs. But in this case, it referred to come earn your own glory or valor or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that the I know the Azov battalion, but this is the Russian. They went through some bad times and they got demobilized, but they were very effective troops. Man, I should have wrote that down.
So what is it again? I'm sorry. I'm trying to do a little research.
Yeah. Let me see. Other side of the medal. And they had that in Russian, so
I'm gonna have to look up and see if I can find anything myself too. Huh.
human rights, the other side of the medal. Thompson, Kerry Sands, First Amendment. What? That's the trouble with these search engines. You know, they're no longer very good, because it used to be based on popularity, on how many people hit it, but now it's based on how much you pay to get your stuff up there.
Ah, yeah, I figured.
Let me just put Russian mercenaries. That'll be better.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for something too. It's a medal.
Wagner Group. Okay, it just popped into my head. The Wagner Group. All right. They were so, you know, Wagner isn't really a big Russian name, but Russia is a multicultural country. And Peter the Great, all right, imported a lot of German engineers and a lot of German architects and workers to build St. Petersburg. And of course, after World War II, a lot of Russian soldiers had been exiled to Siberia, and after the war and everything, some of them stayed. So you do have a lot of German names in Russia, but Wagner Group.
Interesting. I don't think I ever knew that. So there's quite a bit of oh my goodness me, German names. So like
Yes,
like Johann and August and
Rodina Spravlovisto. All right, so they changed their thing. So the Wagner Group, that was one of their models, you know, the other side of the medal. So speaking of that, you got these guys walking out there with some ridiculous fruit salad on, all the ribbons. And sometimes they're wearing the ribbons on the wrong side. I'm like, okay, one side, at least on the Army uniform, the left side is for all your individually earned ribbons. I'm trying to think of the way I wear my uniform, because I can never remember it, you know? The left side, you got all your uniform, all your individual medals, like Airborne Skull, your NCO. If you earned the Bronze Star, it would go there, you know, Army Commendation Medal, the ribbon for your training, the National Defense Medal goes there. And then on the other side, that's where your unit citations go. So if you were with a unit when they earned a citation, let's say you were with the 82nd when they jumped into Panama, all right? So they earned a unit citation for that. So if you're with the 82nd, if you just join and you go to the 82nd, you wear all of that division's unit citations automatically. But once you leave that unit, you don't wear them anymore, because you're no longer with the unit, representing the unit. But if you're with the unit when they earned that citation, that stays with you.
okay.
So you'll see guys wearing like this massive amount, and it's like, you haven't been in that long, or you couldn't have been in that long, and you're no longer with that unit. So I don't think you were with all those units when they earned them.
Well, I'm seeing something on here, AsiaTimes.com, that Russia put a limit on military medals. It was back in 2020. It was when it was written.
Well, that would be good. you know, the things start, honestly, things start looking, I look ridiculous. All right. I look ridiculous. All my medals up there. I'm like, man, 38 years. The only reason I have that medal is 38 years.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I'll even share, I'll share the screen here so that you can also see it as well too, because this was an article here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, those are the big bosses.
Yeah.
But you know what? Some of these, okay. So like with the U.S., all right, if I earn an Army Achievement Medal, which is the lowest medal in the Army's, for achievement, all right, the lowest medal you get. Sometimes you get that for doing 3 years of good work at your job, or you get it for doing one thing really, really well, like you take Soldier of the Year in a competition, and they give you a medal for that. And you get about, in a course of like lower enlisted time, 10 years, you get about 6 of those, especially on active duty. If you're a good soldier, you're racking them up. So if you wore each of those medals, it's going to weigh you down. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they give an oak leaf cluster. So if the first medal, you're wearing it, the second medal, you get an oak leaf cluster to put on that medal to show that you had 2. When you have a silver oak leaf cluster, that means you have 6 of those medals.
Okay. That was just a way to make it easier.
So you don't got to stack up all those medals. And you could tell on the fruit salad there with all the bling. So sometimes the guy's got a big fruit salad with no bling. But sometimes the guy's got a smaller fruit salad and he's got a lot of bling on it, the little stars and everything. So every time you go through a campaign like Afghanistan, I went through three campaigns in Afghanistan. So I have the Afghanistan campaign medal with 2 campaign stars because I got the medal and then I got 2 stars to represent the other campaigns I was on. So if I wore each of those medals, it'd be 3 medals. All right. So getting back to that with these guys walking around out there with it. It used to burn me up. And then I remember a story of lady, she was from Prospect Heights. So not a real downtrodden poor area. And she's asking me, at the time I was a working police detective, and she said, I'm terrified by these people in clown suits walking around scaring people. She says, that's terrible. They shouldn't be allowed. Don't you think there should be a law or something? And I go to her, no, I don't think that at all. It's not because I'm for personal freedoms or anything. I am, personal freedoms are great. But I think that people like that should be mandated to wear the clown suit. You see a guy walking down the street with a clown suit on, cross the street, get away from him. God bless him. He's telling you, keep away from me. I don't want to engage. I'm putting on this clown suit. I'm a dangerous person. Keep away from me. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was recently watching actually a video on when there was the craze in 2016.
Yeah, what it called? Insane Clown Posse.
Yep. Yeah, there was one on campus.
Yeah.
At my college.
So the same thing works with these guys with stolen valor. As soon as you see that their stuff is all messed up and they're wearing stuff they're not entitled to, don't engage. Walk away from them. They are there to get attention.
Yep.
All right. And you don't give them that attention, then they wither and go away. All right. So that was one of the things in psychological operations. All right. You had, if the enemy hit you with a PSYOP campaign, leaflets, loudspeakers, video, pictures, whatever, radio broadcasts, you have your choice. You could counter it. All right. You could dispute it. You could counter it with your own psychological operations. You could dispute it point by point, saying it's a lie, pointing out all the lies, right? Or you could ignore it. 99% of the time, the best thing to do, just ignore it. Just ignore it, and it's ineffective. So you tell the troops that's nothing. If it starts affecting the troops, then you might have to counter it. But I really don't think that affects many people. We had recently we have a candidate that claimed to be a sergeant major. And the thing with that was he was a sergeant major temporarily until he finished his school and then got the full rank. But there's reasons he couldn't finish that school. I've seen it happen. Guys in the Guard, they chase the ranks. They make the ranks. They get into the right positions and they get promoted right away, usually far beyond their capabilities quickly because they don't get the experience. They're too busy chasing the ranks, saying, once I make that rank, then I'll make changes. All right, then I'll fix things. I'll fix myself or whatever. But when you could kind of schmooze your way through the lower level schools in the Guard, sometimes in the reserves, you know people, but mostly in the Guard, schmooze your way, you know the right people. They look the other way. They take 10 pounds off the paperwork. You know, they pencil in, instead of you doing, you know, just 19 push-ups, they pencil in that 25. The older you get, the less you have to do, right? Well,
yeah.
The thing is, right, for the sergeant majors, they have to go to Leavenworth, the Sergeant Major Academy. They have to show up there in person and take that class to get that rank, all right, to get that permanent rank. And, you know, they do not look the other way. If you are an ounce overweight, you're gone. You know, if you don't do the push-ups correctly, you're gone. They don't want the senior enlisted guy that's looking out for all the other enlisted guys, to keeping them straight, to be all messed up. It's like the hardest job in the military is a drill sergeant. Those guys have got to be so together, so strapped, you know, so absolutely together. So sergeant major should be the same way. But if they don't go to that school and graduate, they're not going to get that rank permanent. All right. So my belief was that he wasn't too good at his PT test or his weigh-in. So he avoided going to the school. But the funny thing is, this is the great thing, right? If he had deployed overseas, right, to the combat zone, then they would have given him a waiver for his PT test and his weigh-in when he came back, saying, oh, he must have got fat on deployment because he wasn't able to work out and he was eating bad. So you come in, you get a waiver. So he could have went to the school right after that deployment with the waiver. No one's really going to come hammer down on a guy that just got back from a war zone. All right. He would have went right through the school. Bam. You know, he would have kept it. He'd probably still be in, you know, still wearing that stuff. But yeah, they say it's cowardice. I think, you know, you get called up and you do checks and balances, pros and cons and everything, and people always do things within their own best interest. Most of the time. Very rarely will you find someone altruistic that did it just for the country or whatever.
Yep.
So, but there he goes and he says, well, I made this rank. And I go, it was like I was saying, if someone says they're special operations, all right, I was special operations, you could take it to the bank that they were not special forces qualified and they were not Navy SEAL qualified. They may have been in special operations as a truck driver in a support unit, or like I was, psychological operations, right? That's special operations, but I'm not special forces. I'm not a Navy SEAL. So even with the rhetoric, all right, there's kind of like a stolen valor there, or they're just hoping that it's more impressive, right? You know, there's a difference between being airborne qualified like I was. I jumped out of a plane a whole whopping 10 times. Yay! You know? But I wasn't with the full-time airborne unit. There's a difference, all right? To be a member of the 82nd and to do 20 years in the 82nd is a lot more than being some guy that was just airborne qualified, went to an airborne unit, you know, and got out right away. There's the different levels there. but it's still brotherhood. At least, you're like on the lowest level. At least I got the wings. Even a guy that never made his cherry jump, which is his sixth jump, right? Those guys that never make it to just they call it 5-jump. Hey, they still went to airborne school and they still volunteered and they still got assigned to an airborne unit, So the people in the military that have been in the military that may have even got kicked out under questionable situations, right? They still served, right? It's the people that never were one day in the military that throw on a uniform and say they were, all right?
Yeah.
So I'm less concerned about some general that threw on an extra ribbon that he wasn't entitled to. I mean, that's pretty bad at the general level.
Yeah.
But I'm more concerned about the guy that throws on a colonel's uniform and says he was in the Army and he was a colonel and he was overseas or he was in Vietnam because he's older, right? And he's in his 70s or 80s, he's in Vietnam. Or maybe he says he jumped into Grenada. There's very few people that did that. That was the Rangers and the 82nd Airborne went in there. And or Panama, or that they were at Somalia. I met a guy that was actually at Somalia. And I'm like, that's pretty rare to have a guy that was a Ranger in Somalia when all the stuff went down from Black Hawk Down. So some guy that says they were doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. They're not taking away from that guy because that guy earned all the glory. He earned it all. That guy isn't taking anything away from him, except when it comes to other people. Because if he acts the fool, right? If he's wearing that stuff and acting a fool, then it's a reflection on the other people that earned it, because they weren't fools.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So
any calls?
No calls yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick timeout pretty soon here.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is we'll come back with more of Chief Guard of the Republic. Stay tuned.
Yes, brothers and sisters, and we're back solving that little Zoom problem there. So going back to like medals and awards and stuff. So I was always, as the fruit salad got bigger and more annoying and more weighted down and dirtier and from all wear and bent, just the big pain, I was saying, I wish they would send me on a tour in Antarctica. Now, the Coast Guard has a ribbon. I don't think it's a medal. It's a ribbon for service in Antarctica. And if you winter over, which is our summer months, their winter months, which is like minus 50 degrees every day. So you're staying inside. You might go out for a few minutes and everything, but you're basically locked down almost in a prison for 6 months doing whatever needs to be done in Little America, Antarctica. And for wintering over, you get a device, a little piece of bling on that little ribbon. It used to be a snowflake.
Ah.
But now it's an outline of the continent of Antarctica. All right. But it was a snowflake before. So I thought that would be the best thing. That's what I wanted my last tour in the military to be. I wanted to get ADOS, which they call active duty operational support orders, to Little America, Antarctica over the winter months. And just to get that one ribbon. And then for the rest of my career, that would be all I would wear on my uniform. Because the regulations don't say you have to wear a single thing. There's some things you have to wear. Your branch, you have to wear your rank, you have to wear your battalion crests, your battalion, that stuff associated with that. A name tag, you don't have to wear any of your awards. But I would definitely wear just that one award if I went to Antarctica, because people go, well, why are you wearing that? I says, you know how you see in the movies and television shows when they're threatening an officer and they're telling them, okay, we're going to send you to Alaska if you don't straighten up. They sent me to Antarctica. That's the joke. And trolling some people on the internet, but I try not to do that anymore because it's amusing for me. One of the things, I think it was Facebook, and some group had said, what was your favorite award that you got? And I put down, I said, the astronaut identifier on my jump wings for taking up space in the Army. You get it, right?
No, I didn't get it.
Okay, so these guys, the astronauts, all right, most of them are military. Some are civilian, but most of them are military, and they got pilot wings, either Army pilot wings, Air Force, Marine, Navy pilot wings. And if they are astronaut qualified, there is an identifier, a little piece of bling that goes on those wings, those pilot wings. All right, little piece of bling, and it's like a comet. All right, it's called the astronaut identifier. So it shows not only are they a pilot, but they're a qualified astronaut.
Okay.
All right. So I have the jump wings. They're wings, you know. You really don't fly. You're kind of trying to steer a parachute in the wind, and you're going down. Some kids that are really light, the updrafts, the heat updrafts, actually carry them higher.
Oh.
So they actually get pushed up higher after they come out of the helicopter or the plane. We had a guy, he ended up 8 miles off base.
Oh, wow.
He just kept catching these updrafts.
Yeah.
Now, there's a way you could dump air from your chute and fall faster, you know. But, so, it's kind of a joke there. But this one guy, he didn't understand it. He's on Facebook, and he's screaming, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. And I go, well, dude, you obviously have access to the internet, and you could very quickly go and see and find an astronaut identifier for the military. It's out there, right? So you're saying there's no such thing, but you are on the internet, and you have access to the internet, and you can research it. So that made me, because everything this guy said suddenly lost all credibility.
Yep.
One, he didn't understand the joke, you know, taking up space in the Army. Yep, you're just there, you know.
Oh my goodness. Well, we do have some comments. We have Paul saying, "Hi, Mike."
Hi, Paul.
And talk about Chris Christopherson. He says,
"Wow, Chris Christopherson. You know, who would have known? You know, here's a guy that's an actor. I've heard about it, but here's a guy that's an actor. He had a soapbox, you know, to stand on, worldwide soapbox to stand on and to say everything and to push himself and all these things." And people didn't know that he was Ranger qualified. He was in the Army, all right? He was a pilot. He got up to the rank of captain, you know? He did his service and everything, and no one hears about it. No one knew about it, you know? Here's a guy, a couple times I think he played tough guys in movies and everything, but here's an actual tough guy, you know? Not someone that pretends to be a tough guy, a guy that was actually paid some real dues there. It's one, I'm going to, you know, I better be a little controversial here, you know? It's one thing to be a mixed martial arts guy, all right? And to be trained to fight in a ring with a lot of rules and everything, all right? And to do the training under your own auspices, right? You pay a trainer, you pay this, you do this, you work out, you get all the food and everything. It's another thing to do it in the military where you're doing it the military's way, eating military food, getting paid military pay, being on their time schedule and everything else. All right. Mm-hmm. So that, again, that's like it's almost like, I don't want to say for these Hollywood guys like a stolen valor, but I think they know who the tough guys really are when you get there. You know, you just don't mess with. And who would have known that he just passed recently too, and he was an Army Ranger. The voice of Darth Vader.
Oh yes.
Oh my God. Oh, I remember his first role in film.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones. All right. His first role in film, he was the flight engineer for the bomber in Dr. Strangelove.
Ah, that was from the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah. His main line was "Negative function, sir. Negative function, sir." The plane wasn't working. And he's sitting there as the engineer trying to get the bomb bay doors to open.
Huh. Interesting.
There's a line that I would like to say in context for real once. All right. Fire the explosive bolts. So when the bomb bay doors didn't open, the last resort was the bolts had explosive charges on them to basically blow those bomb bay doors off. You know, so you could drop the bombs. You know, forget the plane. Let's get those bombs dropped. But, you know, can you imagine you're in a situation where you have to say, what are the explosive bolts?
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
So yeah, there are guys that have been through some real whacked out stuff in the military that you would never know were the toughest guys ever. And then there are guys that play tough guys that after work in Hollywood, they go home to their soft bed. They go home to their butler, they're cooking them everything nice that they want. You know, they don't got to eat 3-day-olds. Yeah. Yep. It was a roast one day. The next day, it was hamburger. The next day, it was meatloaf. And the next day, they ground up the meatloaf for spaghetti sauce. That's the way the Army kind of feeds you sometimes. So, yeah, no, I got, deep respect for those guys. They made something of themselves, you know? I don't think that, you know what? Here's the thing. He didn't make something of himself. He did not make something of himself because of his military service. He didn't use that, neither did James Earl Jones, you know? Mm-hmm. They liked acting. They went into acting. They earned their chops in acting. And then later on, people found out that they did all these things. I think the military had given them a strong look on what was important to them, and that was important to them because of their military training. They were able to achieve it. You know, so we got the the Steven Seagal. There's one.
Steven Seagal.
Oh, I was in the Army, I was in the CIA, I was in everything else. I'm like, and he likes playing a tough guy and everything, but he's all fake. You know, he's a big guy. You know, he knows how to fight. He trained in fighting, but dude never missed a meal. Dude was never, out there for weeks at a time, in the woods, Dude never went, a month without a shower.
Yep. Yeah.
But mad respect for the guys that are, I think that's impressive, really impressive, where this guy goes his whole life and then he dies, and then all of a sudden everyone suddenly knows he was in the service.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell everyone every day.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how it works out that way too. Oh.
Yeah, it's good. Those are guys do a lot for the character of the service by their quiet professionalism. Mm-hmm. So trying to think of the other times I see these guys with I don't like the term stolen valor. I think I should refer to them now as wearing the military clown suit. Because they're just a clown in a military outfit they made up. There's some great ones going on the internet, like the guy that's wearing like all this stuff, and he's wearing a female Air Force jacket.
Oh, really?
It's a jacket for a female, all right? And he's got all this hardcore stuff on it, and I'm like, dude.
Has it worked out, or are people seeing through it? They're like, no.
Oh, they see through it all the time with these. Guy walks in with all that bling and everything, and he's just a clown. But people give him attention, screaming at him. You stole that. You shouldn't be wearing it. And he's just absorbing it because he's getting attention. If they look at him, kind of giggle and walk away, then he's going to shrink.
Yep, exactly.
Find a new way. Go get an actual clown suit to get his attention.
Yeah. There you go.
So this just struck me. I learned this. Used to be, big mustaches. The Army hates mustaches. They hate them. These sergeant majors, they hate facial hair. They just can't stand facial hair. And back in the day, where you see all the guys with the beards that don't have mustaches. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons for that was they wanted to show they weren't military.
Okay.
Because the military, under the Napoleonics, the British and everything, you had that big mustache. You were a full-time guy. You had that big mustache.
Yeah.
We tried to, like right now, I am growing the Burnside, General Burnside made this popular in the Civil War. And after the Civil War, it was like, and the reason I started doing it, when I was in Afghanistan on the first tour, you know, I was with Special Operations, supporting the Special Forces, you know, and intelligence supporting them. And they said, hey, you guys can grow full beards because we want you to blend in case I needed to talk with any of the locals or something. And I got about 3 weeks into it, and it just started itching like mad. I couldn't. I was like, ah!
Yeah.
I cut it off, and I just left the mustache, right? And then I realized if I had just shaved this part, I could have still had the full beard. You know, so but they, you know, it doesn't. All that stuff that they said about that, but that, oh, they only respect you if you got a beard. No, they respect you because of the way you portray yourself.
Absolutely. Well,
Again,
we're going to take a quick time out pretty soon here, and then we'll be back with more of Chief Guard of the Republic, folks. Stay tuned. Thank you for so much for everyone listening in today, and we'll be back with more in just a bit.
And fixed bayonets, brothers and sisters, we're back for another incredible show here on WRMN 1610. You know, when I've been neglected, I've been neglectful in giving the phone number. Do we have a caller still?
We sure do, yes. The number to dial here is 847-931-1410 if you want to call into the show to give any comments or also questions. So we're going to take it to the phone lines here. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Mike, love your show.
Thank you.
I want to make a shout out for Post 104 in Schiller Park and the current commander, Robert Lukowski. We have our meetings on Monday at 6 p.m. We have a meeting coming up October 7th, which is this Monday coming. So if you're a veteran and you're interested in the American Legion, please stop by. We're at the Post 104/Community Center in Schiller Park at 4501 25th Avenue. Also, for the 24-25 season, we are starting a new squadron, Son of the Legions. So if you're not a veteran, but your parents were a veteran, you can come and stop by and join the Sons of the Legion. So everyone is welcome, veteran or not. We're a small group, but we are mighty. Thank you for the shout out.
Awesome. Thanks so much for calling in today.
It's great, Bob. Great hearing from you. And I'm looking forward to hearing from many more veterans organizations, which are free to call in to have people listen to know where they're at. I tell you, 104 just celebrated their 100th year. It was a really good time. You know, good party. And then the 208 celebrated their 100th year up in Arlington Heights. So I need to talk to these guys up here in Elgin. You know, talk about how come you're not calling in, because this is your radio station, man.
Yeah, Post
call
57.
in and get some more people into your post. You know, I'm glad if they join Post 104, you know, or any post in the 9th District, but we need more veterans in any Legion post. Any more callers?
Oh, no, that's it. Thanks again for calling in today.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Alrighty, bye-bye now. Yeah, Elgin Post 57, they want to call in too. They're at 820 North Liberty Street here in Elgin. I've been there multiple times before. I used to actually play bingo there with my grandpa.
Oh, nice.
Because he served.
So they got their own, they got a bar?
They do have a bar. They have a cash bar.
Nice.
Plenty of space. Always friendly people. Great service. They have fish fry on Fridays. They have family burger and steak night on Thursdays, spaghetti night on Wednesdays.
Well, I'd like to have a couple of their members call me up and say I'm full of whatever, you know,
yeah.
or say, hey, great call. Oh, by the way, we're up here, and you know, they're welcome to. I welcome any veteran calling in.
Yeah,
any veteran that wants to call in. I don't care if you were a veteran in the Argentinian army fighting the British, you know, fighting the British over the Falklands. Give a call.
There you go. Yeah, so post104.org is the website to go to. I'll put it up on the screen so people can also see it too if you would like to visit the website.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's Sergeant Schiller there.
Yeah, I just get that cute little drawing.
Yeah.
Very nice.
We sponsor a coloring contest for the kids in the grammar schools, the Schiller Park Public Grammar Schools. You know, and we get about 600 of these submitted by the kids, and then we pick out a couple. We give awards to them. But this one here, Sergeant Schiller, I couldn't tell whether he was saluting, which he's probably saluting because they show the kids some stuff, right? He's probably saluting the flag, but I thought he might also be wearing a monocle.
Yeah.
Monocles are kind of military, and he just gave me such joy and laughter looking at this, the kid and everything. So I extrapolated him from the coloring, you know, and I made him our sponsor. I
love it. They're very nice.
Yep, they're a good guy. Yeah, I was getting back to something. I kind of lost it there. Yeah, so like next week, I'm not going to be here because I have a big wig American Legion meeting down in Bloomington, which is the Illinois headquarters. So they hold that on a Saturday. They're not going to move it to another day just for me. You know? Yeah. So I'll do a canned one. Unfortunately, no callers in, but I want to do it on my authorship and things that I learned along the way of writing a book. So I'm going to put together, some stuff about how I did it on Amazon Kindle and how I'm proceeding to do it on the Audible, Amazon Audible.
That sounds good.
I think the writing is a good positive output of therapy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could have easily been very destructive.
Yes.
But positive thing, have your say out there. Writing's good, paintings are good, artistic work is good, working with your hands, putting together a car, going out there and destroying stuff because you're upset with something is not it's not good energy. It's bad juju.
Yeah.
Going out there and creating something to get your word out, to feel that you've been heard. And that's what most of it is. That's what most protests are. People want to be heard. And, I want to be heard. I took the opportunity to be on the radio here. Mm-hmm. But I'd like other people to be heard too. Hey, call in, be heard. As long as you're not vulgar and you're polite, I will be polite back. I'm not gonna shout at you. I'm not a shock jock. I'm not gonna call anyone names. All right. You never know. People. Okay, one story, right?
We got 3 minutes left, so you're good. Okay. Yeah.
I'm at the psychological operations class, and we have a sergeant there. I'm not going to use his last name, but it was kind of German, right? And this guy's a lot older than us, right? So he's at the end of his career. But we're like, hey, this guy could have been alive during World War II. And he was an immigrant. So he had a thick German accent, right? So a couple guys had asked him if he'd been in the Hitler Youth.
Oh, my goodness.
It was kind of rude. And he says, no, I was too young and I was working on the farm.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're talking about dropping leaflets on the end. This is an exercise, dropping a leaflet to have the enemy read, surrender now or you're going to get blown up, or turn against your overlords, for us. And he questions me. He goes, do you know if the people can read or not? I says, well, the smart ones will read it to the dumb ones. And that's true,
Yeah.
And then he took a little offense to that. And he goes, we have a saying in Germany. I go, what's that? He goes, the dumbest farmers grow the biggest potatoes. And I thought that was funny. So I see him at the graduation. And I go, hey, Sergeant, I called home. And you know what the wife says? He goes, what? He says, I go, the potatoes are size of pumpkins this year.
Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness.
I don't know, but yeah. A good laugh, a good comedy.
It's good. You always you need that. in
My
life.
buddy from the Army, he's Jeff Shaw. He's a stand-up comedian. And I saw one of his jokes. I remember him writing this joke in the 80s. And he wrote the joke, and he's got it on his shows when he was first starting out. And now a lot of comedians have picked that up, and they're using it as their own. But I go, Jeff, I know you're the originator of the joke. It was like, this is his, right? He goes, I grew up, my mother was kind of a hippie. She wore a mood ring, you know? When she was in a good mood, it would glow green. When she was in a bad mood, it would leave a big red mark right here, middle of my forehead.
Oh.
And
Oh, my
people
goodness.
copied that now. I says, that's when you know when you made it, right?
Yeah.
When you made it, when people are using your joke.
Exactly. Well, folks, we've got a little under a minute left here, so I think we'll have to close out the show.
So next week, if you want to hear some tips on writing Kindle, writing for Kindle or writing for self-publishing for Amazon, if you're writing a novel, a book, a coloring book, you know, anything, you know, listening to the show. It'll be a one-way conversation here because it's going to be canned because I have to go to this training in Bloomington.
Sounds good. Well, folks, thanks so much for joining in and calling into the show. This does wrap it up here, and hopefully everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.
Are you looking for a way to be creative right now? Have you ever wanted